You're listening to Now I've Heard Everything, conversations with the icons of our time.
My rule in business is hire good people, and if you want to motivate them, pay them. If you want good people, pay good. If you want excellent people, pay excellent. If you want off-the-wall brilliant, pay off-the-wall brilliant. And then don't demotivate them and don't insult them.
Former Burger King CEO Barry Gibbons. Today on Now I've Heard Everything, I'm Bill Thompson. Work isn't easy. Of course, it never has been, but these days it seems harder than ever. Unreasonable bosses, rude customers, a minimum wage that hasn't been raised in 15 years. And it's often the fast food workers that seem to get the worst of it. But here's a conversation I had about 25 years ago with a former CEO of Burger King. And see if you agree with the things that Barry Gibbons told me about what it takes to be a good business leader and a successful business leader. Now, the book that Gibbons wrote that we were talking about is called, If You Want to Make God Really Laugh, Show Him Your Business Plan. So here now, from 1999, Barry Gibbons.
The genesis of this thing was quite funny and probably at my expense. I'd spent a corporate lifetime, about 25, 27 years in big multinational businesses. Ended up with Grand Met and running Burger King Corporation. And I was kind of reflecting back on it, as one does, one day, with a big smile on my face. And I realized I'd probably put together, 50, 60, 70, 80 business plans over that period of time. You know, these lovely documents, they're inch and a half thick, and they've got nice graphics on the front these days, and they're spiral bound at Kinko's, and a quarter of an inch of appendices, all that good stuff. And I realized that probably not one of them had come off, right? So I'm batting 0 for 70. And I felt, maybe there's a some sort of universal law at work here that we may be able to use in business, because I have a belief that life is governed by universal laws. There's the obvious ones like death and gravity and taxes and all that stuff. But if you go on vacation to Hawaii, you take 5 times the money and half the clothes. If you're buying wine in a liquor store, if it's got a picture on the label, it's rubbish. All these kind of universal laws that help us through life. And I thought, well, maybe there's a series of those in business. So I started to, reflect back, wrote that one about business for your business plan. Listen, it's useful because you can actually plan on it not working. And then kept going. And I finally stopped at 101 when the publisher said, that's enough. If there's any more, there's a sequel.
It's a nice round number.
It's a nice round number, yeah.
But the thought did occur to me, if we ever did away with the business plan as a necessity for starting a business, Kinko's would go out of business overnight.
Probably, yes, that's right, yes. But, it's bound a lot of business plans at this time. They could do something like McDonald's, 75 billion business plans bound here. I'm sorry, Kinko's, if you're listening. I'm a big fan.
But it did occur to me, a lot of the stuff that you're talking about in here is what my mother would have just called common sense.
Oh, please. I have a series of my universal laws are built around what I call tests of rightness. And that's an astonishing sight I see day after day in British and American industries, where people who are pillars of the community, they're good family people, they work well in their community, they're doing their church, their school, their bit and pieces, and something happens when they pick up this briefcase and go into the workplace. Somebody who would never consider telling a lie suddenly becomes a fibber. Overnight, an absolute fibber. You know the sort of thing I mean? It's we've just laid off 6,000 people to better serve our customers. That's a lie. We know that. They spend money in their family using a lot of common sense. You're buying a car or a shirt or a new product. You think about it and you spend your money wisely. Then they come into the workplace and they spend the company's money as though they're idiots. They would no more go to their own bank and draw out their own money to buy this computer upgrade. They cheerfully spend $2.3 billion on, and another one of mine in that is that, when you're in your social life, you treat people with some sensitivity and respect. You care about what they think. You care about how they receive. They walk across this threshold into business, and we're getting people fired by email. We're getting people fired by fax with a name spelled. People, my basic life is, look, treat you to company's money as if it's your own. communicate, and the law I use on communication is this: if it wouldn't fool your mother, tear it up. Your mother would not be fooled by a communication that says we're firing 6,000 people to better serve our customer. Tear it up and start again. And treat the people in your business not just as you would wish to be treated, but how you'd treat your sister or your cousin or your friend. And I think you're right. What your mum would have called common sense, and I suspect maybe the kind of basic manners and civilized behavior you were taught as a kid. Where is it in business today?
So does it follow from that common sense that people are coin-operated?
The coin-operated thing for me is I'm sick of the patronizing rubbish talked in industry about motivating people. It's 20 years ago that we realized that it would be awfully good if the army of people that we employed in corporations, pointed outwards towards the enemy instead of inwards towards the general, and actually were enthused about what they were doing. That's fine. So this whole science of motivation came in. But what happened is that the CEO usually added a rider. I'd like programs to motivate people. Psst, it mustn't cost any money. And I love it because, to me, people come in work largely, why? To fund the stuff they want to do in life. They don't come and work for the love of the thing. They come in to generate money to do the other things in life. So, if you want to motivate them, don't tell them they can wear a golf shirt on Friday. That is insulting, to think that some guy in a boardroom with wearing a $3,000 suit has got the right to tell somebody how to dress. Just, hire good people, let them dress themselves.
So there ought not to be a dress code at all.
Why do chief executives think they have a monopoly of wisdom telling people how to dress?
I wish I could have interviewed you about 7 years ago when I worked for a man who insisted that all of us who work in radio, where we are never seen by the general public at all, even for 1 minute, all wear ties and not jackets perhaps, but at least we all had to look very, very corporate-like.
Oh, so none of your listeners actually know that you're doing this topless. Well, I have to tell you, listeners, it's a rare sight. But I'm smiling as I said it. No, I think, my rule in business is hire good people, and if you want to motivate them, pay them. Right? If you want good people, pay good. If you want excellent people, pay excellent. If you want them off the wall, brilliant, pay off the wall, brilliant. And then start with the basics. Don't demotivate them and don't insult them.
Now, many bosses also seem to hire people that they're safe with, that they're not going to rock the boat, that they think just like the boss, that they're never going to irritate the boss. Everything is just fine. They're supposed to play it real, real safe. That's not a good idea, I take it.
That's dumb. It's dumb. I mean, people have looked at where I've been in business, and there has been a degree of success. I put that down to the people that came with me. There's one universal law in there. It was stolen. Great artist steal, remember that. It was stolen from a boss of mine, Alan Shepard, who ran Graham Met, and he said that you should never employ anybody, never recruit anybody who isn't capable of hitting you. I think that's gorgeous. And the logic there is sound, which is this, that don't put people in your team who you can overpower. Who will be frightened to stand up in front of you. You don't have a monopoly of wisdom. Nobody does in business these days. But they must feel the ability to challenge, to shout, to scream, occasionally hit you, tell you you're wrong, contribute this idea. And unless you do that, the people who work for them and then down throughout the hierarchy and the pyramid won't feel the ability to challenge. And I think unless you have a challenge culture today, you can't harvest all those ideas and contributions that, a successful company needs today. No, hire people who are capable of yelling at you and hitting you.
I've also seen bosses who went to one of these one-day seminars where they were told, you must get out and meet the people, shake the hands of the little people. And they emerge from their office door, walk over to the little pocket of people they know are on their side, talk to them for a few minutes, and then walk right back into their office.
Yes, and that's called management by wandering about, or a version of it. I do believe it's very, very difficult today because the leaders of teams, businesses, business unit, that they're under so much time pressure. I do believe it is essential to touch and feel the furthest points of the empire. I mean, I had my own rules about it. That if you were going to do it, I was in Burger King and I was visiting a region or a country. There is a temptation for whoever receives you to kind of guide you around the beautiful bits. That they have a saying about the Queen of England, that she's never actually seen England, because whenever she visits Yorkshire or Lancashire, they plant tulips for like 3 weeks beforehand, paint all the houses, and she goes and thinks, oh shoot, this is nice, cool, this is a nice place, this. But actually doesn't know that there are tenements and slums out there, and that can happen to a chief executive. I'd made a couple of rules. If I visited anywhere, I'd find the kind of lowest point on the employment hierarchy, the janitor, the cleaner, and start there and work backwards. I would also make a point, if I knew there was some sort of pocket of problems or issues or discontent, look, go straight for it. Don't skirt it. You may not be able to solve it. It may leave you with a couple of sleepless nights, but I think actually just going in there will get you a few points, and it will recognize that there is a process established, that the things are being recognized. Make for it. Don't dodge around it or under it. Go for it.
Did you make unannounced visits to Burger Kings?
Yes, I did. And I probably learnt more. You learn some strange things. I visited Chicago, the region once, and I was driving around with the district manager, and I saw a Burger King sign just down a side street. I said, I want to go there. Oh, no, you don't want to go. I do. I want to go now, even more so now you've said no. And I went in there, and it was ever so funny. It was a long, long line at the breakfast register. And what was happening was that the manager there of a franchise had put a small, one of these toy basketball rims. I don't know whether you've seen them from the toy stores. A small rim about maybe 6-8 inches in diameter, and you threw a little light sponge ball. And when you bought your breakfast, your croissant or whatever it was, you got one shot. And if you put it through the rim behind the back wall, you got your coffee free. My district manager sprang a leak. He had gear oil coming out of every orifice of his body. He thought he was going to get, and I pulled him back. He was going to fire everybody and probably blow the restaurant up. I pulled him back and I said, look, what do you see? And it was about 2-3 minutes before he saw what I saw, which was a long line of people, happy. Very rare thing in Burger King those days. And I said, Burger King is a brand, and yes, it must be delivered on specification, but a successful business to me is not so much about what you do now. It's almost as much about how you do it, how you just take that brand and put your own little idiosyncrasies on it, your own style, your own personality. They were having a whale of a time in that Burger King, and it was busy and it was making money. Big lesson for the guy. Big lesson for me.
Now, could you apply those same principles, do those same kinds of things at something that's not a profit-making business, like the United States Postal Service?
Oh, yes, I believe so. That I think the element of emphasizing how you do business is just as important, because anything out there, whether it's a profit or non-for-profit, it needs success. It needs volume. It needs people who use those services to be content and loyal and want to come back, not come back under duress. Those principles of, it's very sad, because you and I not only do these jobs in the day, we're also customers. When I started business school, I'm going back a long, long time, we had this thing called satisfy the customer. Do you know the terrifying thing? We almost live in an age of the customer who isn't capable of being satisfied. I mean, to get loyalty today, you have to go way above the boring old ho-hum satisfaction. You've got to just hit some sort of orgasmic level of positive shock. I spend a lot of my life in hotels. I travel, and I will go in and check out 18, 20 hours later, whatever the time is. And many, many times, you could ask me 20 minutes after I've left the door, where have you just stayed? If I get the city right, but it's unlikely I'm going to remember the brand or anything about it. And yet, if somebody does one thing that's just out of the ordinary, remembers my name, does something that's just... I'm so happy, I'm almost booking my vacation in the place.
It is amazing. It's astounding how much one little gesture can change you.
But the frightening thing, is that the rest of it is just a sea, an ocean of ho-hum products and services today. It's not that difficult to get that distinction and do it. And it doesn't take a lot of money. Because most of the time, you see in the examples that you know and I know, it's somebody doing something. It's not a spend or a big budget or a big marketing campaign. It's somebody just feeling they want to do it, having the creativity, imagination, and, in fairness, the authority and power to do it. And just doing something that makes you say, I'm coming back here.
Well, as another one of your universal laws is, if you think about what you would do if you were just entering the marketplace for the first time, and then do that today.
It's a kind of restlessness. A lot of people ask me. I visit a lot of businesses. What are the today's great leadership qualities? Is it vision? Is it communication skills? Have you got to be hightech.com today and all that kind of stuff? I love this word restlessness, and it's almost the institutionalization of discomfort in a business. It's as you say, as if you landed from Mars today. How would I go about selling burgers or broadcasting or selling shirts or running a school or whatever it is? Because you will find, if you are critically honest in that analysis, that it probably is different from the way you've been doing it. The other good test of that is if I was a new entry into my sector today, again, hamburgers, whatever it is, schools, shirts, how would I go about doing it? Because those guys have usually got everything going for them, and they've got the newest thinking. And if those answers are different to what you're doing today, I got a simple message for you guys: move or die. Change or die. You look at, I'm the same age as Eric Clapton. We just happened to, we both started together in London. You've watched him, and we laugh about that, but that market of the rock star is probably the most competitive market on earth. You look at Clapton, every 2 years he kind of changes his clothes, he changes his eyeglasses, he changes his haircut, he slightly changes the musical genre that he plays in. But essentially it's still the same brand name, and it's still the same core competency, his voice and his wonderful guitar playing. He's still Coca-Cola. But he's evolved and he's changed, and it's that restlessness as against. I'll pick one out. I don't know. Pick a Don McLean from my youth. He's probably sung American Pie every night for 30 years. And I'm nothing against it. A lovely song. I mean,
bless his heart, he'll be singing until he dies.
He will. and so will a lot of us. But it's that institutionalization of discomfort, the need to be restless and try new things, make a mess of it now and again. It's a great skill. And you can stay alive in 30 years in that competitive business. Those geezer rockers, as I call them, have got lessons for all of us in business.
They're all going to need walkers soon when they come out of the stage.
This is terrifying. When is Keith Richards going to stop? Someday, surely. If he's going to do this at 90, I do love him.
Do you know they're all eligible for the AARP now? It's just they all get their discounts at the hotels.
And if I could make a plea out there, 25 years ago, I think it was an American senator said, "What are we going to do with all this leisure time at the end of the century?" Yeah, right. And it got worse, not better. And we're all highly pressured. We're all working longer, work a third of our life. One of the byproducts of that, and a few other seminal forces at work in business, is I think fun has gone out of it. A lot of the humour. I think you're going to have no smiling offices as well as no smoking offices, and I can understand why. It's not good to be seen to be happy and smiling.
Because you must not be working if you're having a good time.
If you're not working, and this is a serious business, and everybody's getting fired, and we've got to turn next month's earnings in, and And I do miss the days when the occasional idiot would do something crazy, and the business would smile for a couple of days. Everybody felt a bit warmer. Everybody actually produced a bit more. It was more comfortable. I'd love for a lighter hand and some lighter touches to come back in the splenetic, miserable modern world of business, he said with a big grin on his face.
Very well phrased.
Since leaving Burger King, Barry Gibbons has been a successful and in-demand speaker on business success and motivation. Now you can get a copy of If You Want to Make God Really Laugh, Show Him Your Business Plan by Barry Gibbons by tapping the link in our show notes, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. While you're at heardeverything.com, also listen to my 1991 interview with the founder of Wendy's, Dave Thomas.
You said Wendy's is not fast food. But it's not, because we cook to order, we make sandwiches to order, we do a lot of things, so it's really not fast. Now we're quick. I like the word quick better than I do fast.
And we were just talking a few minutes ago about Kinko's, so while you're at heardeverything.com, don't miss my 2005 interview with the founder of Kinko's, Paul Orfila.
So there are customers online making Xerox copies at USC. I figure, well, why aren't they making copies at UCSB? I didn't have to do a lot of analytical studies. It was emulating somebody else that was successful.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, the word genocide has been used frequently since last October to describe the situation in Palestine. So next time on Now I've Heard Everything, an expert on genocide and what the U.S. response to it has been over the decades, my 2002 interview with former UN Ambassador Samantha Power.
I think that the perceived costs of engagement are really seen to be much, much greater than the non-costs of non-engagement. And I think that ultimately there has been no leadership in service of stopping these horrors.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.